Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And as we do every Wednesday, Rich Savinci is going to be with us here in a few minutes, talking about consults in the workplace. He's got a great topic this evening, a great topic. So you want to stay tuned to that and pay attention. We are spending 10 seconds every evening being grateful. You should spend a couple of times during the day being grateful, but think of 3 things that make you grateful today. Go. You just can't be unhappy when you're grateful. We've been talking about the past couple of weeks about counteroffers and how they rarely ever work out. Obviously, a few people have seen this video because I've gotten 2 calls in the last week from people that took counteroffers and were reinforcing what I was saying and wish they hadn't. So we're going to finish the reasons of why a person shouldn't take a counteroffer. We've gone over most of them, but we've got a few left. You're leaving an organization is going to cause other people to have to cover for you. I think we discussed this last time. They're not going to like it. They're going to have to pick up your slack, and they're going to have to do things that they weren't doing before. And all of that's going to run through their mind. Your supervisor, the other people that are working with you, somebody's going to have to do the work that you're going to not do when you're gone. So they're going to keep you around to get that work done. And then when we get a chance, they're going to replace you. Losing an employee never comes at a good time. Your immediate supervisor and his or her immediate supervisor are going to say, well, how could you do this to me? How could you do this now? It couldn't come at a worse time. Your ego will be stroked. You'll be fed and simply to buy time for your manager to recover from the shock and replace you. The world is motivated by self-interest. Your immediate supervisor is interested in his or her self. Nobody wants to look bad. If you're leaving, it makes your supervisor and maybe his or her supervisor look bad. And he and she can't do anything about that for at least a while to look good by keeping you. Since he or she doesn't want to look bad, they're going to do what they can to make you stay. They're going to look good by finding a replacement and then firing you quickly. But they have to do that on their own terms. Their sudden interest in your concern about the company and the reasons for leaving are simply self-motivated. That's for sure. The higher level position that you're in, the more likely you are to be counteroffered by more than one person in the organization. I had a candidate not too long ago, and this happened more than once, give their resignation notice and are literally escorted from one manager to another manager throughout the company to convince the candidate to stay. I've even had a few candidates in this situation be called by the CEO, who they never spoke to before, and told what an asset they were to the company. Oftentimes, this was the first time that they had ever talked to the CEO, and the candidate had ever heard from him. Does that tell you something? Be prepared when you go in to resign to receive a counteroffer. Be graceful, be kind, and be smart. Put your ego aside and follow good common sense. Tell the people that made you a counteroffer that you really appreciate their offer, that you have made up your mind and you're going to leave. No matter how tempting it is, never accept a counteroffer. I've even had candidates say, put that counteroffer in writing, please, before they turned it down, and got it all in writing and then turned the job down to be sure that the company could never say that they didn't make a counteroffer. So in the future, 4 or 5 years later, if they were ever pressed with the idea of whether they quit or whether they were counteroffered, they had a proof that they were counteroffered a position that they respectfully turned down. It never works out. It never works out. The feelings are never the same. Be graceful and be smart. No matter how much loving people put on you, you left for good reasons. Your reasons for looking to leave are still there. They're not going to change. I've even seen candidates change departments, uh, have their departments changed, have their bosses changed. And 6 months later, I'm hearing from them about how they need to leave. So whatever you do, be graceful, be kind. Don't accept a counteroffer. It just never works out. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.